Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1998 Volvo V70 all-wheel drive. Up front is a 2.4-liter turbocharged 5-cylinder engine, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I'm super excited to be driving this V70 for multiple reasons. First of all, if you can read the title, it is tuned, so it's making a little bit more horsepower than usual. But the second reason is the fact that I actually have a Volvo V60 as a press car right now, so I have Volvo on the brain, and we'll see what's changed in the last 2 decades when it comes to our favorite Swedish brand. But before we get on to anything else, if you would like to submit your vehicle to be reviewed by me in a video just like this one, you can head on over to zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. You just fill it out, and it will notify me, and hopefully we can make something work. But let's get back to that 5-cylinder turbo under the hood. Well, normally it makes in the mid 200s. This was turbo from the factory. However, this has a T16 ported turbo and is putting out just around 17 pounds of boost, which is quite a bit more than stock. Stock is about 8 or 9 pounds. So it's certainly the extra little riot. Let's get my first reaction. All right, here we go. Woo! That's nice. It's not making me tear up. It's not making me upchuck my lunch, but it just has that nice, solid punch to it. And I love the smoothness of the 5-cylinder and the sound of the 5-cylinder. I think it's a really, really good package in its current state, in its tuned state, for that matter. Now, like I said, paired to it is an automatic transmission. You could find these in manual, at least this chassis, and that would honestly be my preferred transmission, just because with something that's tuned and modified, I want to be able to have fun. I want to be able to select that gear, hold it in a gear, and punch it exactly when I know what the car is going to do. Sometimes this transmission can be a little hesitant and a little random, so I think a manual would definitely improve this experience. Last but not least, however, this is the all-wheel drive V70. Now, you could get them front-wheel drive as well, but this is the upper tier all-wheel drive V70. So how does it feel to actually drive the V70 besides the power? Visibility is actually really good. I love wagons, always have, and hopefully always will. The ride is a little hard, but definitely not categorized as a harsh ride. It's just a little bit stiff, which honestly is something that I would want to see, again, in a modified vehicle like this. Steering is heavy, a lot heavier than I would have expected, but again, not the end of the world. These are just little things that I noticed, definitely not deal breakers. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 main gauges. Off to the left is my fuel and coolant temperature. In the center is my speedometer, and off to the right is my tachometer, as well as I do get a little digital readout down below. The steering wheel doesn't have anything on it besides the horn buttons and the Volvo badge, which really reminds me of like the Volvo semi-trucks that the company also makes. Very, very bland and straightforward logo in the center, which I can admire, but also just kind of funny to see. Off to the left, I have an added boost gauge. This is not factory, but down below I do have the factory air vent, headlight switches, gauge dimmer switches, and fog light buttons. Moving on to the door, I have my power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Pretty standard stuff on the door. And moving into the center, I get 2 climate control vents and their adjustments. And then I get the climate controls themselves. I do get dual zone, which for 1998 is pretty nice to see. Then we do have an aftermarket radio, of course, because the radios from the late 90s were pretty garbage and don't really keep up with modern technology, so you gotta swap that out. Because of that, I have an extra added cubby, again, not factory, the hazard switch, which is factory, a pop-out ashtray, kind of fun there, along with my heated seats and what seems to be a coin holder down below. Very interesting stuff here in the Volvo. Then I do have a 12-volt outlet and the shifter itself. The shifter is pretty plasticky, pretty basic stuff. What I would expect out of Volvo of this era, but certainly not of Volvos that came after it. I think they really upped their game after Ford left. I do have some buttons down below for sport, eco, and wet or weather, so I do get some nice transmission options. Then I have the handbrake and center console. However, if you pull this little tab, the center console actually does have pop-out cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test in the 1998 Volvo V70 all-wheel drive. And unfortunately it fails. I don't think almost any cup holders that pop out of the dash have ever passed. But alas, still a fun little gimmick. The seats are nice and comfortable. They are power, heated, and memory, which are all fantastic options for a 1998 vehicle, and I have to say that I am a big fan. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the Volvo V70 all-wheel drive from 1998, and the headliner is sagging back here. It's just what happens with older cars like this. They get heat cycled so many times, the glue becomes less adhesive, especially if the car's a smoker car, whatever, so not the end of the world, but that's why the ceiling does look lower than it is on the camera. Not the end of the world, my hair is touching it, but that's okay. Knee room is actually pretty good. This is my driving position. I'm actually doing all right. The passenger side seems to be doing a little bit less all right. But I do get a center console, no cup holder or anything. It's just a squishy brick. I do have a 12-volt outlet and ashtray down below in case I would like to smoke in the back of a Volvo V70. However, speaking of the back of the Volvo V70, let's hop out and take a quick look at the trunk area because you might see some goodies back there. All right, so we're on the back of the Volvo V70. Little handle here, and you just pull up like normal. Plenty of space back here. The second row of seats do fold down, and actually the cushions of them, I forgot to show you this. The cushions, there's this little pull tab I was playing with, actually come up like that, so then you can fold these down to give you more space. Really cool. But let's get back to the actual cargo space. Speaking of seats, grab this, pull up, and if you were to pull this stuff out, some of these actually had a third rear-facing row. So that's why these pop up like this. It has been removed for this particular car. However, it still has that functionality, and from the factory would have had a third rear-facing row, which is really cool to see. And so now you get these cool compartments, which is still nice, but definitely one of the standout features of the Volvo V70. And that went into the 2000s, which was probably one of the last vehicles to offer that besides the new Teslas. They offer something kind of like that, but not quite with the cool chic that the Volvo did it with, and I love that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really do like the sort of subtlety that the V70 has. It's not nearly as boxy as the 850 that came before it, so I like that modern design that it incorporates. I think it still looks decently handsome now, almost 25 years later. I think Volvo did a really good job in the late 90s. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Volvo V70 all-wheel drive that has had some work done to it? Well, first of all, let's talk about the tuned portion of this video. I think the horsepower that it's sitting at, whatever that might be, because this car hasn't been on the dyno since it got tuned, the owner is saying upwards of 300 horsepower, and I think it's right about there. It's not overpowered, and honestly, the chassis handles it really nicely. It feels like how this car should have came from the factory, with that little bit extra excitement thrown into it. Is it absolutely knocking my socks off with that ported turbo and tune? Not necessarily, but that's an okay thing for something you want to drive and live with and not break your heart all the time. That's a really solid number, and I think this car is at a really solid place in its being. But let's talk about the V70 as a whole. Well, like I mentioned with the looks, this is actually the continuation of the Volvo 850. So Volvo used to just use numbers for their model designations. I've reviewed a bunch of Volvo 240s. While thumbing through old Volvo press releases, when they launched this car in 1997, they were upfront in saying that it is a continuation of the 850. But then they went on to say that in updating it, they changed over 1,800 parts from the 850 to the V70, which is quite a few parts if you ask me. They changed so many parts from the 850 that it really is something new and interesting and different, and I don't think it shares almost anything with the outgoing model. And most certainly now with that changed and tuned engine, this is an entirely different beast. As I mentioned, I have a Volvo V60 on test right now. Here they are side by side. And it's interesting to see what has changed in the last 25 years. But the heart of the Volvo is still the same. These cars are really, really good at doing the things that you want them to do. The owner of this car, Jake, wanted it to be a fun performance daily. So he made it into that. But some people like to take these skiing up into the mountains, and they're fine with the normal horsepower. Well, they can most certainly do that as well. It's a very versatile car, and I love that. You can't really paint the Volvo into a certain box. It has luxury features, it has tuning car features, it has sports car features, it has soccer mom car features. And that's what I love. It's not defined by any certain category. It is what it is, and it's good at what it is. Whatever that might be, label or not, this car is good. It's very, very good. And with that added little spool noise, woo! This is real nice. This gets the double thumbs up from shooting cars. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Jake for letting me take out his Volvo V70 all-wheel drive. We were trying to get this video filmed for quite some time, and he said, hey, you gotta wait till it's tuned, and boy, am I glad I did. Jake has been absolutely awesome, as well as I filmed a bunch of cars with his brother. They're both from good stock, and I can't thank them both enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.